Okay, in the previous tutorial, we started creating some interactions in our room, specifically with our desk. You see the code here for if this is room 1 and you are in contact with the desk and the dialog layer isn't showing and you hit the space key, that this will pop up. Remember, we need to get the value of current room from the kingdom. So you always want to, for right now, you want to start your previews always in the kingdom. Okay, and let's go over, hit the space key. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I gotta fix my collision mask here. There we go. All right, now let's have some fun. Let's start setting up, let's put an item in our chest here. So first thing I want to do is I want to blank out Bob's inventory. So let's go to our global variables. Let's collapse some of these. Let's go to our global variables. And let's go to Bob's inventory. So right now he's got an item in slot 2. Let's blank it out. And he's got an item in slot 4. Let's blank that out. All right, now in order to say that there's an item in the chest, we need to go to our room coding. So we're dealing with room 1. We have our chest here. We're going to say 1, the chest is filled, which means it's filled. 1 means it's filled. And let's give Bob here, let's put the basic sword in that chest. Okay, that's item ID number 1. Let's show you up here, items. Sub 1 is the basic sword. Let's hit apply. So our program now knows what's in there. And let's go to our kingdom room collisions. And let's go to chest here. And actually let's go, here. And let's go ahead and basically we're going to mimic this. So we're going to have a sub here, and let's create a grouping. Let's call this room 1, because this is how we're going to deal with the chest in room 1. Put that underneath there, and let's move our event over. Alright, so if we're in collision with the chest, right, we want to check a couple of variables here. If we're in collision with the chest, and let's copy this and paste it in, right? Because it's if current room is 1, dialog layer is not visible, we're going to say something. So let's go ahead and copy that in, but let's also add another condition here. I'm trying to think, how do I want to do this? Let's move this underneath here. Move it up maybe. Oop, it's freaking out. There we go, okay. Before we know what to say, we need to check if this item has anything in it. So let's add a check on our variable, value of global variable, chest. Kingdom rooms, furniture 1, chest is filled. Okay, good. And if it's filled, it's going to equal 1. And now we have some conditions for this as well. If it's filled equals 1, then what do we want to do? We want to add the item. We want to change the item, and for right now we'll just code this in as slot 1. Value of a global variable. We know Bob's slot 1 is open right now. but there will be a time when we won't, and we'll have to do a check for that later on. Wrong one. Sorry. Bob, we want to change Bob1's inventory slot 1 item ID equal to, and the item we're giving him is 1, the basic sword. Okay, and then we want to also change this variable now to 0, because now we want to say that it's no longer filled. So let's do variable, global variable. Let's change the chest in room 1 to 0 for is filled. Okay, and we want to update our inventory check as well. That might do it automatically when we hit I. So we found the sword, right? Let's move this down into here, because I think it's going to move too quickly up there. Okay, we've added the item. Now we're going to say, we already know that this is true, right? So layer dialog space release. Let's do a text here. Let's do a text change. Modify the text of text dialog, and we're going to say, hey, I found a sword. And now we want to show the dialog. I'll copy it from up here and paste it in. Let's move this down. We want to show the dialog before we change this variable, or it's gonna it'll mess up our dialog here. Well, let's see how we did. Let's just go ahead and preview this. You always want to preview sometimes and catch mistakes. We'll have to code what happens when it's 0. Whoops, wrong place. Let's go to chest here. All right. Now let's check our inventory. So it hasn't updated yet, but it did like this because it changed to, hey, I found a sword. Oh, we never changed the is filled. I was right. You do have to change the is filled. Sorry about that. We changed the item ID, but we didn't actually tell the program that that slot is filled. What am I doing here? Not a scene variable, value of a global variable. And we want slot 1 is filled. And we want to say that it is filled equals 1. And let's move this up. That should do it. All right, now let's check the inventory. There it is. But now we just need to code what happens when, I mean, you could, I guess, leave it like this. But I prefer to add something here to indicate to the player that it's gone. You can't do anything else here. So let's go to our Kingdom Room collisions. Let's keep going. Let's copy this and add an event here and say no, we don't need all. Yeah, I guess we do need all this. If it's 0, right, and the Kingdom Room current room is still 1, that's fine, and all this is fine. We don't need to change this anymore, so we can delete that. We can delete that because we already did it, and we can instead say in our dialog, there's nothing else in here. We already changed this to 0, so we don't need that. And now we have a nice simple room here for, oh, whoops, sorry, I was trying to show it here. We have a nice simple interaction grouping for our items. Let's try it out. Let's see. Okay. That's it. All right, we just gave Bob an item.